Well, Americans' pain at the pump is easing thanks to the Trump administration as Gas Buddy's national average tracker remains below $3 a barrel. $3 a gallon. Joining me now is U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright. Good to see you, Secretary. Thanks for being here. When do you think Americans are going to feel not happy? You're never happy about paying money for gas, but are going to feel better, genuinely better about the price at the pump?
Oh, I think that takes a little bit of time, but as you go into the holiday season, nothing's better than saving money every week. You fill up your gas tank, you got more money in your pocket to buy your kids presents and pay your bills. You know, this is what happens when the American public elects a president who cares about their pocketbook, cares about American people, and not special interests or the climate crazies or whatever the interest the Democrats are trying to appease. President Trump just focused on the American consumer.
And, you know, I don't think there definitely wasn't a time during the Biden administration when the gas went below the price they came in. Of course, they came in during the pandemic when prices were very low because people weren't traveling as much. But they basically, you look at a chart and it's pretty amazing the way it just stayed up there. It did come down for the high point of $5 a gallon, but it never really came down significantly enough for American car users.
Imagine if Harris had won the election, where would gasoline prices be today? How would American consumers feel?
Right.
I guess you could visit California and get a preview of that, where gasoline prices are over 50% higher than the national average. Those are political choices. They're not unfortunate facts. They're political choices to make energy expensive.
Now, let's talk about expanding what we have, the amount of oil that we're able to produce here in the United States. McKinsey & Company, a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2022, came out with a report saying that we could increase by 2 million barrels a day the amount of oil we get from just one place. They called it the Gulf of Mexico. Now it's called Gulf of America. When are we going to get going on that? Increasing by 2 million barrels a day what we get out of the Gulf?
That's actually happening as we speak right now. There's been lease sales in the Gulf of Mexico. There's been some change of regulations that just makes it cheaper and easier and actually safer to operate in the Gulf of America. So we will see increasing production in the next 6 to 12 months out of the Gulf of America. And if you look carefully at the oil production data in the U.S. as a whole, right now it's almost 1 million barrels a day higher than it was 12 months ago.
Yeah.
So even with low oil prices, we're seeing more development. Just common sense is back in town.
But when we get over 15 million barrels a day, I mean, that's what we're looking towards. And by the way, we should mention Gulf of America oil is some of the cleanest burning oil around, right? It's better for the environment, just about any oil you can find anywhere on the planet.
Yeah, you could say that about the whole American oil and gas complex. Yes, that was one of my critiques always of the Biden administration. They claimed it was for climate reasons.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to change the demand for oil and gas. They just wanted us to buy more of it from Russia and the Middle East and produce less of it here. I never got the climate logic of that.
Well, speaking of the climate, the UN Climate Summit just ended in Brazil. We're not going to talk about how many millions and millions of pounds of carbon was added to the environment as a result of that happening in the middle of the Brazilian jungle. But it was a failure. It was an abject failure. One of the headlines I read was ended in failure at every single level. First of all, a red line on any mention of stopping fossil fuels completely. They used to always throw that in. That's no longer it. Are they finally realizing, is the $1 trillion experiment of spending money, taxpayers' money on climate change, is that finally ending?
I think it is. I think we've seen peak climate crazy. We've brought common sense back to Washington, and it is contagious. You know, Canada just scrapped their carbon rules that were suppressing their oil production, their ability to build pipelines. You see reversals in most of the European nations. It's just common sense. People are starting to think about their citizens again, about cost of living, about jobs. And of course, when you look back at 30 years of COP climate conferences, nothing substantive came out of them.
Right.
A lot of money, a lot of ink, a lot of promises to get rid of hydrocarbons. Their market share didn't even change over the last 30 years.
And never any admissions that all of their forecasts were dead wrong about what would happen. And I just have to throw something else in. Obviously, it's the need, the tremendous need for new energy from these data centers that AI is going to rely on, huh?
I think that's helpful, actually. That's helping bring some common sense in the conversation, and it's giving a reason for a lot on the left to pivot without having to look back, as you're talking about, David, and say how wrong they were before.
Right.
They can just say the world has changed. AI's arrived. Now we need reliable, affordable energy.
Yeah, well, that is true. We do need it, and we can't get it without fossil fuels. Secretary Wright, thank you so much for being